Volume. The volume of a solid is a measure of how much space it occupies. Volume is measured in cubic units. So the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height. Alfred has a bulk container that holds 2,000 cubic inches of dog biscuits. He plans to sell the biscuits in small boxes that measure 5 inches by 8 inches by 6 inches. How many boxes will he need to sell all the dog food? So let's start by figuring out how much one small box can hold. So I figure out the volume of the small box is going to be equal to the length, which is 5, times the width, times the height. Multiplying that out gives me 240 cubic inches per box. It's got a total of 2,000 cubic inches of dog biscuits. So if I take that total of 2,000 and divide by 240, which is the amount can be held in one box, I end up with 8.3 boxes. So in order to sell all of the dog biscuits, he'd actually need to sell 9 boxes. Paulino runs a landscaping business. He needs to cover an area that is 10.8 by 9.5 with 10 centimeters of topsoil. How much will it cost if the soil sells for $18.75 per yard and soil is available in multiples of half yards? So the total volume that he needs is 10.8 times 9.5 times, now we need to be careful here because this 10 centimeters is different units than our other two measurements. So we're going to change that 10 centimeters into meters first. So 10 centimeters is 0.1 meters. Multiplying that out gives us a total volume of 10.26 cubic meters. Let's change that into yards because that's what our cost is in. So 10.26 cubic meters, and I want to change that into cubic yards. I need to find a conversion factor for meters to yards, but because we're dealing with cubic units, I need to cube that. So I know that 1 meter is 1.09 yards, and so I need to cube both of those numbers. Cubing 109 and then multiplying by 10.26 gives me a total of 13.3 yards. Our question tells us that the soil is only available in multiples of half yards, so I will actually need 13.5 yards. 13.5 yards times the cost of $18.75 per yard. Multiplying gives me a total cost of $253.13. In the SI system, the base unit for measuring volume is the liter. The liter is also the base unit for measuring capacity. So capacity is the maximum amount that a container can hold. A liter is 1/1000th of a cubic meter. Why is volume measured in cubic units? And what is the formula for calculating volume? So we've been over that a little bit already. In the imperial system, that base unit for measuring volume and capacity is the pint, but volume can also be measured in cubic inches, cubic feet, or cubic yards. In Canada, we use the term imperial units to mean British imperial units. The United States also uses an imperial system, but the sizes of its units for volume and capacity are different from the British unit. A British gallon is equal to 4.54 liters, and a US gallon is 3.785. So you need to be careful as you're going through some of these to make sure you're using the right conversion factor. In many industries, volume and capacity are measured in imperial units rather than SI units. For example, in the food industry, ingredients are often measured in teaspoons, cups, and ounces. Other industries use both the imperial system and the SI. A building contractor estimating the amount of concrete needed for a job may find one supplier who delivers concrete by the cubic meter and another who delivers it by the cubic yard. The contractor would need to know how to convert between the two systems to ensure she is getting the best price for her client. So on the right-hand side are some measures of volume as well as their abbreviations. Nigel imported a vehicle that was made in Britain. The capacity of the gas tank is 22 gallons. If the price of gasoline is $1.20 per liter, how much will it cost Nigel to fill his tank when it's empty? So the first step is that I need to change that 22 gallons into liters. I need to make sure that I'm using the conversion for British gallons. Well, 1 British gallon is equal to 4.54 liters. Cross multiplying, I end up with 99.88 liters is how much this gas tank will hold. If the cost is $1.20 per liter, I can multiply by $1.20, and I end up with the total price of $119.86 to fill his car. The cooling system of a car's 6-cylinder, 250 cubic inch displacement engine has a capacity of 3.5 US gallons. To protect the engine against freezing temperatures, an antifreeze solution of 3/8 ethylene glycol and 5/8 water is added to the cooling system. If the cooling system is filled to capacity with the antifreeze solution, how many quarts of ethylene glycol are in the cooling system? Well, ethylene glycol is 3/8 of the total. So it's 3/8 of the total capacity. Now that total capacity is 3.5 gallons. So let's change that 3.5 gallons into quarts because that's what we want our final measurement to be in. So 3.5 gallons, and I want to change that into quarts. Again, we're using US gallons, so 1 US gallon is equal to 4 quarts. Cross multiplying gives me a total capacity of about 14 quarts. So 3/8 of that 14 quarts are ethylene glycol. So 3/8 times 14 is a total of 5.25 quarts. That's how much ethylene glycol would be in the cooling system. Rashima built 24 wood planters for her garden. The inside of each planter measures 4 feet long, 2 feet deep, and 1.5 feet wide. She needs to order the soil to fill the planters. At K&R Soils, potting soil sells for $17 per cubic yard, while Bob's Best Buy sells potting soil for $21.50 per cubic meter. Where should Rashima buy her soil? So let's look at how much soil she needs first. So the total volume that she needs is 4 feet by 2 feet times 1.5. Sorry, those are in feet, and both of our measurements are in different units. So let's do some conversions first. Let's back up one step. If it's 4 feet long, and we need to convert that into yards. So to convert into yards, I have 4 feet. I want to know how many yards that is. Well, there's 3 feet in 1 yard. So we end up dividing the number of feet by 3. So we end up with 4/3 of a yard. We're also going to need this converted into meters. So when we do the meter conversion, it works out to 1.22 meters. And again, I'll set that up for you. If we have 4 feet and we want to change that into meters. So we want to know how many meters that is. We know that 1 meter is 3.28 feet. So cross-multiplying and then simplifying, and we'll end up with 1.22 meters. Converting those other measurements, the next one was that it was 2 feet deep. Well, 2 feet is equal to 2/3 of a yard, or 0.6 yards, 0.67 yards, which is equal to 0.61 meters. Our third measurement was that it's 1.5 feet deep. 1.5 feet is half a yard, or 0.45 meters. All right, let's figure out the volume in yards first. So the volume in yards is 2/3, or 0.67, times 1/2, or 0.5, times 4/3, or 1.3. So I'm going to write them out as decimals for you. So it's 0.66 times 0.5 times 1.3. Multiplying gives me 0.45 cubic yards. I need 24 planters, so I need to multiply this by the 24. So the total volume then that I'm looking at is 10.8 cubic yards. Our price per cubic yard was $17. So multiplying by 17 gives us a total price at K&R of $183.60. Let's have a look now at Best Buy. The volume from Best Buy has to be calculated in cubic meters. So in cubic meters, I have 0.61 times 0.45 times 1.22. Volume for one planter then is 0.34 meters cubed. Again, I need to multiply by the 24 planters to figure out the total volume, which is 8.04 cubic meters. The price from Bob's Best Buy is $21.50 per meter, for a total of $172.80. So Bob's Best Buy is the best price.